Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Fredericton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleagues for giving me the opportunity to speak here today on this important issue. We certainly are in unprecedented times. It's a remarkable thing for me to be here today representing my own riding, but also carrying the weight of those living in the ridings of my Green colleagues for the members of Saanich Gulf Islands, Nanaimo Ladysmith. I've also been asked to share these comments on behalf of the independent member for Vancouver-Granville. I would first like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. It is essential that we remember the historical and ongoing implications of those words and the responsibilities we bear towards Indigenous communities across the nation, especially as we face this unprecedented crisis. I know I am not alone in having made this bizarre trek to Ottawa to be present here for these proceedings. I made the 10-hour trip by car with my husband and 2 boys. Nous sommes seulement arrêtés pour...
We only stopped to buy gas and to take a quick break. We took all the sanitary measures that are recommended.
Best to entertain a toddler and a 7-year-old for 10 hours in the car. I think of many families and households across the nation answering difficult questions from their children and trying to keep them entertained. I feel you. To the children of Canada, we love you, and we are here for you too. We know this is a difficult time. I would like to take this opportunity to also humbly thank many people, the frontline workers staffing our hospitals, stocking our grocery stores, and keeping our communities safe. Businesses and educational institutions for answering the call and mobilizing in a warlike effort to provide and manufacture supplies that we need. To Dr. Tam and her team for coordinating our public health response, as well as Dr. Bonnie Henry of BC for her incredible work. The tireless efforts of our cabinet ministers and their staff to coordinate a response to COVID-19 across government departments. And my colleagues here in this House and those practicing social distancing at home for proving that in the face of a national crisis, we can and will work together for the people of this country. We gather in these extraordinary times to pass extraordinary legislation. It will allow the federal government to reach out and help Canadians directly with their personal finances. It will allow help to reach the self-employed, small and medium-sized businesses, and large corporations. I'm very relieved that a compromise was found that allows us to pass this legislation today, albeit a bit later than we had hoped. It is a fundamental principle of Westminster parliamentary democracy that Parliament controls the public purse. We cannot, even in a public health emergency, convey unprecedented powers without any oversight and without any criteria limiting those powers to any government, no matter how well-intentioned. This is a defining moment for our country. I am prouder than ever before to be Canadian and see the expedited response to this crisis. I am also so proud to be from New Brunswick. I commend Premier Higgs and Chief Medical Officer Jennifer Russell for declaring a state of emergency. For decision makers in neighboring Atlantic provinces, Nova Scotia, PEI, Newfoundland, I commend you for making the difficult decision to close your provincial borders to further protect citizens. Thank you for your leadership. We have seen more than a week now of social distancing, of closures and restrictions. Now is the time for all Canadians to comply, to do our part to get us through this together. Effective suppression would mean fewer cases of coronavirus, a fighting chance for our healthcare system and the humans who run it, a reduction in the number of total fatalities, a reduction in collateral damage, and gives us the time for infected, isolated, and quarantined healthcare workers to get better and return to work. Alors que la réponse du Canada jusqu'au précédent a été rapide,
Canada's response up to the present has been rapid. But inevitably, there have been lessons that we can draw to ensure that we will be better prepared to react to this type of catastrophe in the future.
Cooperatively with my colleagues in government, but I must also point out the ways we need to improve so that we can get this right for Canadians. I'm sure we are all in the same boat when it comes to the level of correspondence with constituents over the past few weeks. We've been hearing a lot of concern. One thing the situation has made clear are the inequalities within our society. COVID-19 has amplified the challenges people are already facing. I think of les Canadiens et Canadiennes qui vivent dans la pauvreté.
Canadians who are living in poverty, especially those who are homeless.
Canadians who have been laid off or are facing reduced work hours, particularly at a time when they feel financially insecure. Older Canadians living on a fixed income who are worried about their pensions and investments. Indigenous peoples and the heightened challenges faced by their communities. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes qui habitent en région rurale.
Canadians in rural regions who can't easily access healthcare services.
Other newcomers worrying about family abroad or trying to get home amidst travel cancellations. I think about our charities and not-for-profit organizations who are losing their donor base right now and really need our support. We must also stay vigilant against those who want to profit from this crisis, and they are out there. We are facing this giant together, but from very different vantage points. Almost 1 million people have applied for employment insurance. So far, I have to say, our Green Party has been proposing a guaranteed livable income for Canadians for years. If we had a GLI in place now, we would easily be able to ramp up payments to people facing layoffs and reduce hours without clogging the phone lines of Service Canada and scaring people who are afraid of their unique situations, leaving them without support. The government measures announced are now taking time to roll out because we lack the infrastructure to quickly disseminate direct payments to Canadians. We need to have a closer look at this. It is also clear to me that if we had already made much needed improvements to our healthcare system, things that have been advocated by professionals, like improved infrastructure, preventative healthcare, pharmacare, we would be much better situated to address the needs of Canadians in this COVID-19 crisis. Best estimates of what lies ahead vary widely, but we can all agree that the more we are able to maintain social distancing among those who are asymptomatic and maintain isolation for those who have symptoms, the greater our chances are of getting through COVID-19 without overwhelming the system. The extent to which individual Canadians and businesses can follow the advice provided depends on the extent of their financial ability to do so. People have to be in a financially secure position in order to take the public health advice. When we talk about the economic impacts, it seems we have left some things out, and we have discussed a few of them here today. Renters, both residential and commercial, need measures to protect them from landlords that are not passing along the goodwill of the banks or who don't have the goodwill of their bank. New Brunswick and a few other provinces have made it illegal to evict tenants for non-payment of rent. These measures are good, but need to be standardized across the country. We need
to do much more for our SMEs. They are the heartblood of our economy.
President of Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses puts it, the wage subsidies are the right measure, but the wrong amount. Our assistance measures for businesses are being dwarfed by steps taken or being contemplated elsewhere. For example, in Denmark, the government is offering up to 75% of wages, with the maximum payout per employee 10 times higher than the current offering in Canada. And there seems to be nothing for unincorporated businesses that have employees. This is a big concern. New Brunswick is allowing small businesses to defer WorkSafe New Brunswick premiums for 3 months. The federal government could do the same for EI, CPP, and HST. These are trying times, but we do see examples of hope all across the country. I have seen jingle dress dancers standing out in their yards, dancing for all of our collective healing. I know that we have seen churches, synagogues, mosques, and other places of worship adapting to a new reality and being steadfast in their support of spirituality and faith, which we need now more than ever. These are emotional times for citizens as well, and we also must consider their mental health. Get outside if you can, but maintain your social distancing. Go for the online museum tours, look at the zoo tours that are happening. I'm seeing people making badminton nets out of tape, hide the potato, baking les tortillas portugaises en québécois. So
Quebec Portuguese custard cakes.
Keep it up, call your neighbors, check in, FaceTime with your grandparents. We all have a responsibility here. Stay connected. Isolation can be a really difficult thing for each of us to face. We are setting an example with so many of us operating from home as well, and we can continue to play a leadership role here by exploring digital options for the work that we do here in the House. Let's continue to have that conversation. Today means passing this motion to ensure Canadians have the financial resources they need to make ends meet, while we rigorously follow the advice of public health experts. We will get through this if we stick together, even if that means standing apart. Thank you. Merci. Will Ewan.
Questions and comments?